Hey everybody, before we get started with today's episode, I just wanted to let you know that if you didn't know, did you know that you could save 20% off your purchase from Arcadia Publishing? That's right, you can use checkout code Haunted Vermont and get 20% off your entire order. Otherwise, you can use our special link, arcadiapublishing.com/Haunted Vermont, and purchase through there. Any way will help support not only Arcadia Publishing, but it will also support us here at Haunted Vermont. Now, enjoy the program. Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Beyond Haunted Vermont. My name is Paul Doski, and we're going down a little bit, more towards an area of the South, I guess I could say, that is Maryland. With, sometimes, I guess you could say, Maryland is kind of talked about, and then it's not, because there's other states that involve like the cryptid that we're going to be talking about, kind of just are more popular, I would say. But in this case, it would be great to bring on somebody who kind of knows the history and lore behind Maryland, and that is not other than our special guest, Susan Fair. Susan, welcome.
Hi, Paul. Thank you for inviting me.
Of course. I know the original idea was to get you on for the National Werewolf Day, but I know you had something going on, so you told me to reach out in April, and here we are.
Yep. I have something non-werewolf related going on, just to clarify.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, hopefully all is well and stuff like that.
So. Yes, all good.
Yeah, good. Now, Susan, since you're new to this program, I guess, I'd like to start off with everybody, which is, how did you, get into this mysterious realm of this sort of phenomenon, whether it be these cryptids we talk about or always hear about, to these spiritual specters that seem to have left an imprint behind, or even to the point where they are intelligently trying to contact us from beyond the this life form, this plane, to the afterlife.
I would say, I think a lot of people who are interested in this sort of thing, there was a lot of in search of, captured our imaginations quite a bit for a certain, generation of us anyway. I always, from as long as I can remember, 4 or 5 years old, a scary story or a spooky story would be the most exciting thing I could think of. It would be the ultimate thing, to have somebody tell me a scary story. Because, we had, a few stories in the family, nothing exciting or anything, but just to hear somebody tell a quote unquote spooky story, especially one that was supposed to have really happened, is just always just captivated me so much. And, after many decades of reading spooky stories and telling spooky stories and trying to figure out what's real and what's not, and looking for ghosts sometimes, and reading a lot about cryptids and folklore, and I'm still just as captivated as I started out. I don't know if I have many answers. I probably don't have any answers, but it still fascinates me.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, I know sometimes with this type of stuff, we also hear like people are more boots on the ground when it comes to the research and stuff like that. Do you kind of do any of that just to kind of, I don't know, maybe try to find like the what like for me, like if I go out to a cemetery, let's just say for an example, right? I try to let the environment tell me what is going on. I guess I could say for an
Hmm.
example, like last year I went with a person that uses like a ghost app, right?
Right.
And this ghost app kind of made some interesting responses. But later on, when I went back home and remembered some of these responses, and me and him kind of got back together to you know relook at some of this stuff,
Right.
we came across that this person's name was in fact in the cemetery, but at the time we didn't know that, nor could we find their grave. So doing some
Huh.
more digging, what I found to be more odd is that if this person was in fact using this guy's ghost app on his phone,
Hmm.
she was confused whether or not she was either dead or alive. And what I mean by that is, too, upon trying to do my own research for this uh, family, I'll just say that I could not, she the only member of the family I could not find a death certificate for.
Oh, interesting. Well, that's cool. Yeah, I don't
Yeah,
know what to make of that. No wonder she's mixed up.
yeah, exactly. I don't know how to make of that either, but I've been trying my best to see if I can find anything, but I cannot find any newspapers at all. I can't even
Huh.
find any records from like the historical society around here.
Hmm.
However, they do have her name written down in like a burial record book, but that's about
Oh.
as much as I have to go on. Like, there's no way of knowing how, in fact, she died.
Oh, interesting. I don't
Hmm.
know. Sometimes there could be like when you're researching this sort of thing, like a difference in spelling. Um, you know, someone's last name might be spelled one way here, and it might be spelled with two R's in the middle, instead of one R somewhere else. And, so when you're researching, you have to try a lot of different things lots of times before you find what you're looking for. But um, that's definitely one thing that comes up a lot, I find, when I'm researching, like, uh, old records and particularly people's names and place names as well.
Right, right. Yeah. Um, uh, One other thing I can share too with that
Hmm.
same story is kind of like what you said with these old records. The only old
Hmm.
record I could find was like her old marriage certificate. I've actually
Ah.
found two. Is it two? I'm trying to remember now. I think no, I might be thinking of somebody else, but I did
Hmm.
find their marriage certificate. But it was just interesting because I was able to find out how her husband died, which was like 2 years after she had left, and she
Hmm.
died at the age of 19, but she died on
Oh.
January 19th, 1852.
Huh.
Um,
That's very interesting.
yeah,
So, huh.
and just real quick, it's like so her husband died August 2nd, 1854, and he was like 26 or 27.
Hmm.
Oh,
Oh,
and he
that's.
died of tuberculosis. That's it. That was the
Oh,
final
okay.
thing. Yeah.
Is this in Vermont?
Yes.
Hmm. Interesting. Um, it, like some. Did you say that the husband's headstone is there?
The husband
But
what? I'm sorry.
did you say that the husband's headstone is in the cemetery?
Yeah, the cemetery also had the husband as well.
Hmm.
So, yeah,
It could be, that they just didn't get around to putting, a marker on her grave. That happens sometimes.
oh,
Um,
she had one too.
oh, there is a marker. Okay.
Yep, 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 yep.
Okay. Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So you're trying to figure out what she died from?
Right.
Hmm.
So, I mean, for all I know, maybe if her husband died of tuberculosis 2 years
Hmm.
after, I'm wondering maybe if she might have had tuberculosis as well.
Hmm. Yeah, there are so many things, that could get you back then. That's
Totally.
for sure. Oh,
Totally.
very tragic. Well, that's sad.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
it just makes me wonder if she is still here. It's just
Mhm.
maybe because she confused of how she died, and
Mhm.
maybe that's why, like, without that death certificate to show proof, maybe that's why she's, I don't know, still around,
Yeah.
because because one of the weird response, well, couple weird things that we had
Mhm.
heard through the ghost app thing, which I don't know really how I feel about ghost app to begin with, but it was still interesting nonetheless. But it was
Mhm.
asking if we could see them, and then it was asking if they were dead, which is just like, oh boy, here we go.
Mhm. Well, yeah, yeah. I don't know about the ghost stuff. I mean, I've um, seen people use ghost boxes, and I've experimented a little bit with those. But like apps, I've tended to avoid. One thing you notice when you like download some of these apps, it's like asking, it's has like the consent agreement thing that you check, is asking for permission to access your uh, audio files and your microphone and your video and everything. And it really does seem like when you're using these apps, sometimes they're kind of actively listening to you. So if you're talking, about like if we're in a cemetery ghost hunting together, and I say, "Hey, Paul, look over here," and then a few minutes later, the app might uh, use the name Paul just out of
Hmm.
nowhere, and it would, make you think, "Oh, it's listening to us, it's talking to me," this some spirit, but it's probably just the app.
Yeah, I've always wondered if stuff like that kind of also has a way of knowing the geographical aspect of where you are and knowing what is
Sure.
quote there or
Right.
something.
Mhm.
Because I mean, we did find out too with one of the responses was like what it was an "an" that came out like an ANN. So
Mhm.
to this other name that we got, which was Teresa, I should probably mention that. So Teresa was the first name, and then Anne we got, and then there was like a Dana and stuff like that.
Uh-huh.
And so afterward, we found out that an Anne was actually the sister of Teresa, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And what made it
Mhm.
more odd, when I didn't catch it right away, but when I was writing up the little article that I was making for this weird incident that happened,
Mhm.
when I found the marriage certificate, you know how well, I don't know if it's the same way like in the older
Mhm.
days, but they have that I think it's the witness line or something to that
Right.
effect. Well,
Uh-huh.
the witness that whose name was on there was a Dana, which is
Oh, neat.
interesting.
Mhm.
So yeah, it was just like, wow, it all seems to be like coming together for this family, which is
Uh-huh.
interesting.
Yeah, that is interesting. Well, I don't know. That's the kind. That's fun. It's thought provoking. That's for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. But okay, so Susan, you know what? Let me ask you this real quick. Do you
Mhm.
prefer? Do you prefer for our little chat right now, Susan or Sue?
Either one is fine.
Okay,
Yep, absolutely fine. Either way, or you can make something up.
make something up. Oh
Yeah.
boy. um. All right, we'll just stick with Susan right now.
All
I
right.
can't think
All
of
right.
anything clever at the moment. So,
Fine.
um, yeah. So you actually made a book that the lovely people at Arcadia Publishing sent me, or should I say the History Press, because they kind of go
Mhm.
by so many different things. But
Right.
the book that caught my attention with you was the mysteries and lore of Western Maryland for
Mhm.
the Sallygasters. I think that's how you pronounce that. Dogmen and other mountain tales.
Right. Yep.
So, I guess talk to us a little bit about, I guess, Maryland, like Sallygasters. I kind of just looked that up briefly, but it sounded like a hoax or something of like a flying
Yeah.
dragon.
Yeah. It was around the time. Well, it was at the same time as the Jersey Devils, the big Jersey Devils slap or sightings of 1909, and a lot of other newspaper editors who weren't in New Jersey wanted to get in on the fun, that kind of thing.
Mm,
And
yep.
in this case, they the charming folks at one of the local newspapers decided to make up its own version of the Jersey Devil. And what they did was the Jersey Devil, but make it racist. And they literally invented Maryland's Snallygaster, which was uh, seemingly designed to scare black people
Mm.
specifically. So that's not a good use of a monster at all. So
No,
yeah,
not at all.
yes, unfortunately, unfortunately, a lot of people think that that's a real cryptid, or mystery, but it's pretty obvious, that it was literally at the same time as the Jersey Devil, and a lot of the stuff in the articles were just completely fanciful, and it
Mm.
would have been fun if they just hadn't, made it racist, but that's what they did.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah, but we do have. I think you mentioned when we were talking earlier the Dwayyo or the Snarly Yow.
Yes.
Um, and the Snarly Yow is um, there's an actual historic wayside marker in Washington County that is actually for a cryptid called the Snarly Yow. And it says the Snarly Yow stalks the mountain. And what this creature was kind of like the local version of phantom dog sightings, which are common all over the world. As I'm sure you and your listeners know. That's a very common one. Phantom dogs are pretty universal, and this one guarded the road in a certain area
Right, right,
along
right.
along the national road, um, and it's actually Boonesboro, which happens to be the area where I live. And the Snarly Owl would sort of appear in front of people who were traveling the road late at night. And this was, talking like horse and wagon kind of traveling, in the 1800s, and it would it would seem like it was trying to scare people to keep them from passing by. Um, One local man famously took a big swing at it, and his arm went right through it. The creature, um, so it's just like this big snarling uh, dog that it grows like quite large and blocks the roadway. So, and the fact that they actually put a roadside marker uh, there is pretty cool because you don't see too many wayside markers commemorating cryptids or
Nice.
folklore in general. So yeah, so that's a pretty cool thing. So um, uh, supposedly, you hear stories passed around, that people still see a phantom, will have a phantom dog dash across the road in front of them at that spot, and they think they hit it, but then, they don't hear anything. There's nothing in the road. So, whether or not, people are really still seeing, I mean, people see phantom dogs, pretty frequently. So, uh, it could well still be out there, I guess. There's are different stories of a phantom dog. The one they call the Snarly Yow that blocks the road is, I think, in local folklore, meant to be a different phantom dog than another one that you will hear it coming. You can hear its chain rattling. Um, if you stop to drink at a certain stream, it will, you won't see it, but you'll hear it drinking alongside you, that sort of thing. So um, I'm not really sure if the Snarly Yow, was an offshoot from that kind of phantom dog story, or if they were meant to be totally separate, or developed independently of each other. I don't know, but phantom dogs, which are definitely different than dogmen,
Oh
um,
yeah.
uh, are, you know, they're one of the, I would say, nicer, usually one of the nicer cryptids to have around. This one can get kind of unpleasant, the one that blocks the road, but otherwise, normally they're nice and seem kind of companionable, phantom dogs. But for as far as quote unquote dogmen, there have been some stories associated with the Western Maryland area, particularly Frederick County, where people see something that is what would, going by the description, would be, people would say that's a dog man. People who are familiar with this kind of thing. There was one, and these are more like modern day appearances. There's one from, I think it's like the late 1990s, early 2000s, and they used to be and hopefully he's still out there doing his thing, but fellow in the paranormal community, Reverend Robin Swope, and he is, I think he called himself the paranormal minister or something, but he seemed to be a big jolly fellow, and he was a ghost hunter, and somebody had told him, related a story to him. He wasn't from Maryland. He didn't live in Maryland, but this person who approached him at a paranormal conference told him the story of seeing this dog monster one night um, on a back road in Frederick County. And the story she told him was that she was driving. This is a young woman driving to a friend's house at night, and there are a lot of, like, really back roads and roads that go through various state parks and, forests and kind of one lane roads here and there. And she was on one of these roads, a dark winding road just outside of Gambrel State Park. And she said first she started feeling like this weird sense of dread. And she was driving very slowly because of the roads were all twisty. It was dark. And then all of a sudden she saw something. And she said first it was just saw a blur, like something was keeping pace with her car, but running like alongside, but in and out of the trees, kind of. Like it was a few feet inside the trees. And
Right,
then
around
all
the
of a
wood
sudden,
line.
right, all of a sudden it just jumped out of the woods because she had like almost stopped her car by that point. And it was a huge dog-like creature that stood on two legs, and it was showing its teeth. It had like sharp fangs, and it looked just like fearsome, like murderous. And it didn't have any eye shine or anything, but it jumped right at her car, she said. And she hit the gas and made it to her friend's house, and told them, what she had seen. And, it sounds like, definitely kind of a fantastical story. I mean, she's describing like something that looks like a werewolf, like what we call nowadays a dogman. But Reverend Swope said that when he talked to this woman, I mean, we always say, this person seemed credible, but he said she definitely believed that she saw what she was saying she saw. And of course it was, dark, and, could it have been something else? Or, it was definitely something on 2 feet. And she said it seemed to move like unnaturally fast. Faster than it should have been able to move. So there was, back in the 60s, there was this big flap in the local newspaper. Someone reported that a creature that he called a Dwayyo, Dwayyo, had appeared on his property, and that area where he said he was outside of Gambrel State Park, just like where this modern day sighting that I just told took place. And so this guy reported to the police that this creature had shown up on his property, and he had like a fist fight with it. He said it was a dog-like creature standing on two legs, and that it attacked him, and he and this creature were like punching each other, and it disappeared like into the woods.
Wait, he punched it?
Apparently the Dwayyo started it, apparently.
Right. Okay.
I think.
Right.
Otherwise, that would just be assault, on a Dwayyo. So hopefully that's not what it was. So supposedly the police, filed an actual police report on it. The newspaper did publish like a sketch of the creature, and it looks like a kind of a mangy, werewolfy kind of dog standing on two legs. Not like a big muscular creature or anything. So anyway, this mention in the newspaper set off of course, weeks and weeks of satiric articles and letters to the editor and sightings of some strange animal somebody had seen running across their property that was like the size and shape of a dog and ran on four legs and was, you know, almost certainly a dog, you know, those kind of reports. But at one point, some young people, local kids from the local high school and community college, tried to organize a Dwayyo hunt to track down the monster, but uh, supposedly like 100 people had signed up in advance to go out and help hunt for the Dwayyo, but then pretty much nobody actually showed up.
Hmm.
So apparently the newspaper reported that there were a bunch of like young rowdy guys driving around in downtown in a pickup truck, or, you know, with like waving machetes. But as far as anybody knows, they never left, you know, downtown to Frederick. So, so nobody ever went searching for the Dwayyo. But that creature, that sighting, which was in 1965, was basically, you know, in the same area as this one from the, you know, 1990s, early 2000s. And a very, you know, similar description of a creature. So could
Right,
be a
right, right.
coincidence, or I don't know. But about a year ago, on one of the local like subreddits, it might have been just the Maryland one or the Frederick one. I can't remember. But uh, people were talking about uh, seeing strange animals, and somebody said that he had seen like a dog man, and like for some reason, I guess because it wasn't a paranormal thing, like nobody was like glomming on or asking questions or even making fun of him. So
Mm.
I sent I sent him a message and said, "Would you mind telling me, you know, a little more about what you saw? Because, you know, I've uh, written about local folklore and, you know, cryptid sightings and that sort of thing." And he uh, told me his story, and it was in the same area, literally in the same area as the other two, the Dwayyo and the one that Reverend Swope reported. And he and his girlfriend were looking for a place to park late at night, and he was like in high school, I guess. And they went way out on back roads, like further, like than what they usually went, because they uh, apparently already had a history with the local cop of being caught here and there. So they went further out, and very very far, you know, like off the road, no lights or houses around or anything. So he said um, before he could even turn the car off, he his he realized his girlfriend was shaking real bad, and he described it as silent screaming. What is that? What is that? And he still had his headlights on. He said about 20 yards um, through trees and brush, he saw something that looked like a dog standing upright. He said it was lanky, it walked funny on its hind legs, and it its quote unquote arms were held like it was a dog that was standing up. He said that the fur was dark, matted looking, and there was something about the head that seemed unnatural.
Mm.
That it seemed somehow to be somewhere between a dog and a primate. Its eyes burned red in the reflection of the headlights, and it was sort of moving away from the car, but looked over its shoulder at the car as it was moving away. And the guy said that they got the F out of there as fast as they could, and he, you know, he certainly seemed to believe this happened. I don't. I mean, he definitely wasn't saying, oh, I definitely saw, the cryptid moon as Dogman, but he's just saying he didn't know what it was, what it could have been. I mean, they both just saw the same thing, and it looked like, a dog creature walking on its hind legs, but like a menacing looking, kind of creature. Um, and that was indeed in the same. It's probably like as the crow flies, uh, like within 7 to 10 miles of these other two sightings.
Oh wow.
Um, yeah, so it's the same general vicinity. I drove out. He described to me like where it was, and I drove out there. Less than a half an hour from my house, but
Hmm.
it was like an area I'd never seen before. It was way out there, and like these kind of unpaved roads. There used to be hunting cabins along in there. It looked like, um, and it was definitely very isolated. I mean, even now, and this was, well, it's just like 10 years ago, but so that's so interesting. I mean, I don't know. I have rationally I have a hard time thinking they are quote unquote dogmen, but you know, people sure do see something that sounds like a bright walking dog creature.
Right.
You know, I mean, I know, back in the days, somebody called into Coast to Coast and described, seeing these upright walking dog creatures that were wearing like trench coats and smoking cigarettes. I mean, that guy seemed, he
Jesus.
seemed like he believed that when he told that story, if I remember correctly. But so I don't
Yeah.
know. You just don't know what to make of it. But they just seem like people. Um, the sightings in Maryland, not the cigarette smoking dogmen.
Right.
The
Right.
sightings, in my areas, just seem like people seeing something, and they're describing this basically the same kind of creature, which is something that technically doesn't, exist. So, what is it they're seeing? I
Right.
mean, bears,
That's the $1 million
bears
question.
might, yeah, a bear might walk, on its hind legs a little way, but it doesn't move unnaturally fast, and it tends to, as close as these folks were, you know, you would they would probably be able to recognize, a bear, I would think. So, yeah, I don't know. Uh, so
Yeah.
spooky.
Yeah. Exactly. I just want to. So I'm going. Jesus, like this is all good information too. But let's real quick. Let's go back to that Snarly Y'all for a minute because I was
Mhm.
reading that. And I'm gonna apologize for the listeners for going all over the place, but I didn't want to interrupt Susan here. But so with the Snarling Y'all, who acts like a dog, going back to that for a minute.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yes, there has been a lot of those weird type of black dog sightings, and
Mhm.
as I remember, one of the legends, which is like if you
Mhm.
see a black dog 3 times, you're supposed to like be dead within the next couple days or something like that. Or
Ah, yikes. Mhm.
yeah, and then I was also reading something to the effect of like some of these snarly y'alls may seem aggressive, but they never physically harmed anybody. I think it was what I
Mhm.
was reading. Um,
Mhm.
now going to the Dwayyo. Is that right? Dwayyo.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Um, first off, is that like German? I'm trying to think.
Um, well, that's part of the mystery of the story. So the man who said he saw it and there was supposedly a police report filed. The name he gave, there wasn't anyone in the county with that name, as far as his name, the man reporting the dog man encounter.
Mm.
But he said he had used, a pseudonym so that people wouldn't make fun of him. Like people always say.
Oh yeah,
But
to ridicule.
yeah. So and nobody, there's never been any story as to where the name Dwayyo comes from.
Mm. Mm.
So the closest I could come to anything remotely similar, there's, and now I can't remember what culture it is from, but somewhere there's some sort of paranormal creature that is sometimes called a yo, like a Y-O. And this is the Snarly Yow, Y-O-W, 2 words. So that's like the closest I can come to, finding that name. So Dwayyo, as of this point, as far as I know, no, if it's German or if it's from another
Region
country,
or something.
yeah. I certainly haven't been able to find any other mentions of it. The Snarly Yow, back to the Snarly Yow real quick. The name Snarly Yow was given to this creature by a woman. Her name was Madeline Vincent Dahlgren, and she bought this, they called it a manor house or mountain house. She was like a wealthy Washington, D.C. widow who bought like an old inn that sits right on the National Road just outside of Boonesboro. In the 1880s, she would spend her summers away from the hot city in beautiful mountainous Boonesboro, and she had written other books and all, but sort of like romantic kind of writer. She was told a lot of superstitions, ghost stories, weird stories, folklore stuff from the local people, because they worked for when she was there, working on her land or helping her around the house, and she would go visit them in their what she called cabins, and she started collecting all the stories that they told her, and she actually wrote them down, and she put out a book called South Mountain Magic, and it's really cool because there's not too many cases where somebody like just kind of stops at a point in time and is like writing down all the folklore that people in a certain rather small vicinity are telling or grew up hearing or had happened to them. So that's a pretty cool thing. But the name, when she was describing the dog in the road that grows in size and won't let people pass, that she called that a snarly owl. Where that comes from, the only reference I can find to snarly owl is like in the 1830s. There was like kind of an adventure novel called The Snarly Yow, and it was about what I described as a hard luck dog. It was like a dog that went on board a ship and got into all kinds of scrapes, and it got kidnapped and held for ransom, and it had to fight off these bad guys, and it was lost, and but it was called the Snarly Yow. So I don't. So I think she, was a very literate, um, educated lady, and I think that she probably come across this novel, and so she took the name from that. But the stories, as far as the Snarly Yow and the Phantom Dog stories,
Mm-hmm.
they all come from her book. But the people that she reports who had the experiences who told her, and she basically gives their names. Um, she'll uh, she puts like the person's initials, but there were only so many families around, and you can tell who she's talking about.
Mm.
So at the time, well-known family names, in that region. So, um, so I think that accounts for the Snarly Yow's name, and I think
Yep.
she wanted to differentiate it from the the Phantom Dogs, who were kind of doing like more typical Phantom Dog things, um, and differentiate the Snarly Yow as like a more menacing creature that could grow to a huge size. Um, so, but yeah, back as far as the Dwayyo, no idea where that name came from.
Yeah, let me go back and refix that and rephrase it because
Mhm.
I think I was getting it confused with Dwayyo when I meant to say it for the Snarly Yow
Oh,
because
that's quite all right. It's confusing.
I did find a little paragraph here that basically
Mhm.
says it might be from West Virginia when the Germans settled there in the village around the 1700s, and Snarly Yow basically is a German word that describes a whale that like imitates from like a toothy mouth, I guess. And going back to what you
That's
were
interesting.
saying
Hmm.
about the Snarly Yow, it also said that it is said to appear out of thin air and it has the ability to change its size and then
Hmm.
disappear instantly. So I think that's like what you mean by the various sizes, right?
Yep, that comes from not the origin story for the name,
Right, right.
but the description as far as changing size. That comes directly from Madeline Dahlgren's book, and supposedly she got those stories firsthand, from
Oh
the
wow,
people who lived here. So at that time,
that's crazy.
so yeah, yeah, it's kind of cool, definitely
Yeah,
cool.
for sure. Um, now I'm trying to think here because
It's pretty all right.
Dogman has been an interesting subject with me, and it's just
Hmm.
like there's I guess apparently I don't know if you've seen it or not, but
Hmm.
there's a 2022 documentary that came out, and it was called Expedition Dogman. Do you know anything with that based in supposedly around Maryland or anything?
I don't think so. I know I can't remember which documentary I saw that was. I don't know if it was a small town monsters one. I know there's one where they talk to um, Linda Godfrey and the like DNR person who had like a binder of information about these reports of quote unquote dogmen.
Hmm.
Um, and that was pretty cool because he was basically an official, uh,
Right, right.
and he was felt like he needed to make mention of it, and because I it's also called the Beast of Bray Road, I think. Like,
Wisconsin. Yep.
yeah, as far as that particular group of sightings, that seem to happen. In the same within a couple years.
Right. Well, Linda Godfrey also, before she, really looked into these creatures,
Mhm.
she wasn't really taking it seriously until she had published that newspaper article, and then
Mhm.
that's when it seemed to, for lack of wording, upset people because they claimed that she should be more critical about it because
Mhm.
these people that were reaching out were basically saying, "Yeah, I've seen
You're right.
this
And
creature."
she was an actual reporter. So like
Yes,
they were holding her to, a high standard. You can't report,
yeah,
something like that. But
and yeah, I forget how many write-ins, I'll just say, basically, that made her start to realize there's more to this before her
mhm.
going into it. But
Right.
it's just interesting that somebody, all it takes is just something like that, and then your whole world could change just by having people writing into you and saying you should take this more serious. So
Right. Mhm. Yeah. I mean, you if anybody, who can add like a sense of credibility to, sightings like this, I think that's, good journalism because she didn't start out with an, agenda. She wasn't a paranormal researcher or Bigfoot hunter who, was looking
right,
for something like that. She was reporting, people's firsthand experiences and,
yeah, I guess you
even,
could. Oh,
yeah.
yeah, I was just gonna say, yeah, I mean, it fascinated her so much that
Mhm.
when she started to look into it, she did in fact at some point in her life ended up getting
Mhm.
her own encounter in it. So it looked like it, they kind of say with the term, if you stare into the void long enough, the void stares back.
Sarah's
So
back, yeah. Yikes.
yeah,
Yeah, that's one void I wouldn't want to stare into.
right. Speaking of dogman creature, when maybe I don't know, maybe but when writing
Mhm.
this book or even after, Susan, have
Mhm.
anybody mentioned hearing like the popping sound that you would hear about with the dogman creature that they stand because of their um wow, if that term is like escaping my brain right now, but
Mhm.
like as they stand upright or whatever, they hear that
Uh-huh.
like popping.
Oh no, no. No one's ever, as far as, ones that I've seen firsthand, which are just the handful that I just described. None of them mention anything about sound. So, I mean, that's interesting. Again,
Right.
I had never heard of that about popping sound. That's interesting.
Yeah,
So, yeah.
and sometimes like it's not even a popping. Sometimes it's like a cracking sound, like it's like something
Ah.
breaking maybe.
Mhm.
I know there's a term for this, and for the love of
No.
everything, I have words. It's just like against
Uh.
me tonight.
So it's
Maybe
like
because of it.
a noise that is associated with like the creature. Kind of is it kind of implying that it's sort of transforming?
Yeah, yeah,
From. Mhm.
yeah. Like I don't want to say double joint, but man,
Oh.
that's like
Uh-huh. Mhm.
gonna like annoy me. It's
Uh-huh.
it's because of the knee, the reverse knee, something had something to do with the
Mhm.
knee.
Mhm.
I just remember that much.
Yeah.
Somebody's gonna probably correct me, but right now I'm really surprised I am not remembering what they call that. When I
Oh.
hear it, I'm gonna like be like, yeah, that's the word I'm looking for. But Jesus.
Yeah.
Um, the other thing I wanted to ask is with some of the people that may have shared with you, has anyone also mentioned maybe what they were seeing kind of reminded them of what should be extinct, which is like the dire wolf?
Um, as far as these stories from my area, I didn't think like the word wolf is brought up at all
Mm,
in reference to the creatures. The thing that jumps out at me the most from like the um, most recent one that I got firsthand from this young man, um, that there seemed to be something off with its head or its face, like it was like not quite dog, not quite ape, not quite human, but it's like some weird combination or something.
right,
It
right.
it didn't fit what you would expect. So
Interesting.
yeah.
It almost seems like it's
Mhm.
if we go with like a shapeshifter, then in a way.
Mhm.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Um.
So
Yeah, that is
it's
interesting.
mysterious.
The other the other weird question I have for you is: has anybody ever mentioned to you that they seen some without a tail?
No, I haven't heard that description.
Yeah, that's
No.
interesting. Yeah, I never thought I would hear something like that too, but yeah,
Mhm.
there's apparently descriptions out there where some people have seen them almost like they're tailless, which is I find that
Huh.
to be odd and strange at the same
Yeah.
time.
That doesn't, fit with the dog image. Do you have any sightings of dogmen from Vermont?
So yeah, there's been a few stories in Vermont. We
Mhm.
supposedly have some encounters in the northeastern kingdom, which is like around the Canadian border, maybe like an hour or so away from the
Oh.
Canadian border.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Um, because I did, speaking of like dogmen chasing cars, one of the first that I've heard is a story that involved this lady in the northeastern kingdom. She was getting out of work, and this thing came out into the wood from the woods and started to
Mhm.
chase her car at about 75 miles an hour and kept up with her car.
Uh, it,
And
wow. Mhm.
yeah,
That sounds
and
just like the reports
exactly.
from here.
Yeah, it
Mhm.
seemed to be one of their favorite things to do for some reason. Maybe that's just their best way to scare people.
Yeah. Well, I don't know, or it's the dog in them, I guess.
Yeah, that too.
Once they chase cars. So.
Yeah, ironically enough, there was another one that involved around I think it was Christmas time. That was
Mhm.
I don't know the story that well, so I just know that it's something involving Christmas time, and I think it was like going through the trash or something, or trying to
Hmm.
peek into the house or something. That one I'm not really too sure of, but there is another one
Mhm.
that I just actually recently got a few months back. Actually, back in February when I posted
Uh
about the car chasing story for National Werewolf Day. But anyway,
huh.
this lady had reached out to me because she had something similar happen to her, which was like in May of 2015, I think, is
Ah.
if I remember her information correct. But the way she described it was like the other lady. She was coming out of work again, and she was driving down the road,
Mhm.
and not one but multiple ones seemed to show up.
Oh.
And what she remembers that it was like a wolf, a white colored wolf shape, but it
Uh
was
huh.
bigger than like your average wolf. And to her, it almost felt like it was almost like in a like a dire wolf type form, like maybe because of it
Uh-huh.
being bigger than the
Mhm.
the average wolf. But she only reached out to me because of that story that I had posted, because she's like, after reading that, she just like, now I don't sound so crazy because that kind of happened to me. And I'm like, oh yeah. I'm like, this is what you could
Mhm.
call normal and common between
Uh-huh.
whatever's going on with this dogman phenomenon. They like to chase
Right.
cars and scare the bejesus out of you.
Right.
But yeah, she sounds more fascinated now, and I told her about like Linda Godfrey's work and small town monster documentaries and stuff like that. So I kind of gave her
Mhm.
some homework, and I told her hopefully after doing that you'll get back to me and tell me what you think and make sure that it is in fact what you think is what you saw.
Yeah.
But she was just telling me how just odd and weird how like this big dog or big wolf was just showed up out of nowhere and it was
Mhm.
white and this and that. So I took note of it
Mhm.
because
Mhm.
another odd thing that I can share is around that area in northeastern Vermont, we have a lake. Um, I'm gonna butcher it. I know I am. So I'll just say a
I won't
lake.
know the difference. Mhm.
Yeah, I'll just say a lake. Everybody will know what I
Okay.
mean. But
Yeah. That late.
uh, it's no. I don't. I'm still trying to figure this one out. I'm trying to. I guess I need to try to do some more deep digging for where this
Uh-huh.
came from. But they say there's like a water witch on this particular lake, and with dogmen kind of seem to be around water. They seem to be around old burial grounds.
Mhm.
Something that would just say they're guardians of the dead, at least for me anyway.
Mhm.
But then
Huh.
when you look at Kentucky with like land between the lakes, I mean that used to be an old civilization that got wiped out by that flood, as if memory serves
Mhm.
me right. And then it's like, all these dogmen are showing up there. But then I heard
Interesting.
there's rumors about, secret military operations and this and that, and
Yeah.
all kinds of missing people
Yes.
and everything. So,
Experiments gone wrong.
exactly. So, I tried to look up to see if there's any sort of wars that happened around the northeastern Vermont area, if
Mhm.
there's any old burial grounds, maybe. Nothing really seems to pop up in that aspect. So
Mhm.
it makes me wonder then if the dogmen are hanging out around the northern eastern Vermont area. It's like, why then? What's so special over there?
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, kind of same here. I mean, um, the sightings around here definitely don't seem to be associated with water, except for the phantom dog that likes to drink from a creek. But yeah, that
Right,
doesn't
right.
seem to be a factor in the appearance of them in this area. But that, I mean, like in general, with you know, quote unquote paranormal things, bodies of water and like large um, uh, amount of uh, rock um, in the area, you know, are supposedly conducive to paranormal phenomena. So, um,
Oh, right, like with the different minerals or whatever with the
mhm,
rock.
mhm,
Yep, yep, yep,
yeah.
yep. Yeah. Well, what about your area where, just I think you called it the lair of the dogman or something. Like, is there any sort of burial ground over there of like natives or anything like that?
um, well, I mean, almost certainly, I would think so. But um, this area where the Snarly Yow, you know, blocks the road and all that
Mm-hmm.
the South Mountain area. Um, there was literally a Civil War battle, um,
Mm.
a battle of South Mountain, that was, fought right there. So, yep,
Interesting. Yeah,
yeah.
what you call it? I was reading about how if we go by even what the Egyptians thought about when it comes to what the dog creature thing that they
Oh
worship
yeah.
are,
Anubis.
um
Or,
yeah, Anubis, and then the other one called the the Weepowet, I think is how you pronounce it,
ah.
where they could supposedly go and seek out pathways, or should I say portals, to like battlefields and maybe
Mhm.
sneak out of battlefields that way. Hence the whole like if a king was about to get ambushed, let's just say for the example, they
Mhm.
could rip a hole in time with the say and bring the king to safety, sort of thing, because
Mhm.
they were seeking out the grounds ahead of time, maybe.
uh-huh.
Um, yeah, so I don't know. The
Yeah, that's
Weeper was,
interesting.
yeah, and now that you bring up Civil War, I mean, Weeperwets are also known to be aggressive because of the warrior side of them.
Ah.
So maybe because your area that you're speaking of was Civil War, maybe it's aggressive there because if they are in fact warriors, with to say, then yeah, they're going to be charging right into battle per
Hmm.
se.
Yeah, that's an interesting concept for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Hmm.
just been one of those fascination things where it's like, well, it could be this, it could be that, or
Right. Well, that's. I mean, to me, that's what makes this uh, field of study or this pursuit, so enjoyable is the mystery of it. I don't.
oh, totally.
I don't. I don't want them to catch a dog man in a big trap or a Bigfoot or I like having it be a mystery, but I also like trying to solve the mystery, but I don't really want the mystery solved. But it's very exciting to research. It's a lot of fun, and it's a
Yeah, totally.
kind of a side door into learning about history as well in a lot of cases.
Oh, wow.
I mean, just like ghost hunting too. Um, I'm like less than an hour from Gettysburg, where I live, and um, people who don't really know anything about the Battle of Gettysburg, or about. I mean, they knew that it was a battle, obviously, but like they don't really know like American history in general. Um, and I think that lots of times, like when they go to an area like say Gettysburg, and they catch something on a recorder, and you know trying to research like something that was maybe a name said on a recorder, if and then they might find out that somebody from the uh, Fifth Maine, I'm not good with the regiments and all that stuff, but somebody, a soldier with the Fifth Maine artillery, was killed either right there or something. But people will just find that like history, people who aren't interested in history, I think lots of times find out that they're a lot more interested than they gave themselves credit for, and it can kind of contribute to people researching stuff about their local history or um, the country, or not necessarily just the U.S., but just in general. It's something that can, I think, bring people closer to their community and the people who lived and died in their community, and important events that happened in their community, and even down to the geological stuff as far as large deposits of stone. I think that lots of times people think ghost hunting, as an example, is silly, and it can be, but it's also a way of interacting with the past, interacting with history, and I think that can lead to a lot more things than just ghosts. I think.
Oh yeah,
That's
totally.
kind of a side, yeah. And that's
Yeah.
my favorite thing, is just like the history behind it all.
Mm-hmm.
And, everybody's local history is probably a lot more interesting than what they realize.
Oh, totally.
Yeah. So,
I think that's lacking sometimes too with some of the historical aspect. Which, I mean, I guess that's why some of it is called folklore, right? Because
right.
you could tell me one thing and I could make it sound completely different than how you just told me it like 20 minutes ago.
Exactly.
Next thing you know, and then next thing you know, I'm telling it to these people, and
right.
let's just say the next day, this is getting said, that's getting said. Yeah, it's
exactly. It's just like gossip.
Yeah, it's
paranormal gossip.
Yeah, paranormal gossip. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. But okay, yeah, you know what? I just saw the drawing that you had just sent about the Dwayyo. Yeah, I think I've seen that drawing before. Sort
of. Yeah, like sometimes it'll come up, if you Google Dogmen. Yeah.
Yeah, that might be why I find it, or why I recognize it. I don't know why, but I feel like when I look at that picture, it's almost like a mix between a squirrel and something. I think it's the tail.
Yeah, probably. It's got a bushy tail. Yeah.
Yeah, it does have a bushy tail. Now that you say that.
Yeah. It's got, I wouldn't go as far as to call it cute, I guess, but, have bushy tail is kind of a cute characteristic.
I mean, Susan, you're telling me you wouldn't want to raise your own Dogman pup?
No, I think I'll pass on that.
Yeah, I don't blame you on that.
But, yeah.
But okay, Susan. Well, I don't want to take any more of your time. It was an honor to talk with you and share some of the stories and your research and stuff.
Well, thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome. Before I do let you go, though, is there anything that you're currently working on for, I don't know, for 2026? Or there something where people can kind of keep up to date with anything that you got going on for 2026?
Well, should be able to find me on Instagram, just, by my name. And as far as my books are like all available from Amazon and the usual places. And I have a new book, tentatively called Weird Tales from Western Maryland, which is also being published by Arcadia / History Press, which it'll either be at the end of this year or beginning of next year. So
that's awesome.
Yeah. So thank you for asking.
Yeah, no problem.
Well, thank you so much for inviting me.
You are very welcome. Yes, and if you want to talk, I don't even know, like Civil War ghosts or whatever that we can think of in Maryland, you're more than welcome to come back on to share them.
Well, thank you so much. That sounds good.
of course. And for everybody else listening, make sure to check out Susan Fair's book. She's even got one that also sparked my interest called American Witches, which is always interesting nonetheless. And I guess, for everybody else, whether it be inside of the Green Mountain State or outside the Green Mountain State, we always want to hear your stories and your encounters, because in the end, it almost seems like there's a lot of similarities with stuff, and sometimes it might seem to connect, because I guess we can always say everything connects one way or another.
Well put. Very good. Well, thank you again for having me.